Welcome to the 10-Minute Mind Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Janet Cagle, certified life coach, weight loss coach, and lover of all things related to upleveling my life and yours. My goal is to help you get one step closer to your goal, whatever it is. My goal is not to keep you wrapped up in self-help all day, just 10 minutes. And who doesn't have 10 minutes, right? Hey friends, welcome back to the 10-Minute Mind Shift Podcast. We are kicking off the new year with new level goals and intentions, and I don't mind admitting that I am feeling the gap trap. Welcome to episode number 123, The Gap Trap. Today, I'm going to talk about what the gap trap is, why it's harmful, and in the end, I'm going to give you 6 steps to getting over the gap trap thought process. When I think about where I am right now with my goal and where I want to be over the next year, I feel the cavern of time and space, and it strikes me how far I have to go. If you're thinking about that too, it's perfectly normal for your brain to go there. It's a calibration technique that your brain uses. It's totally fine. In fact, if you are not feeling that a little bit, you might not be goaling as much as you are fantasizing. Totally listen to episode 122 for more details on understanding the difference. Okay, so when you think about where you are now and where you want to be in any area of your life, whether it's making more money, losing the weight, living in the house of your dreams, having the degree, landing the job, it's easy to start feeling like your goal is out of reach. Remember what I just said? It's easy. That's familiar. That's what your brain does, the easy and familiar. But the truth is, you are always closer than you think, and you are stronger and wiser and more equipped than you will need to be. Isn't that crazy? I really want you to think about that, and then think about something that you accomplished and see if that doesn't land true for you. You are closer than you think, and you are stronger than you will need to be. But, and if you're like me, you might be having thoughts like, people like me don't make that kind of money, or people like me could never lose that kind of weight, or get that job, or have that kind of relationship. You name it. We all have that things like that don't happen to people like me sentence in our head. The larger the gap between where we are now and where we want to be, the more we begin to doubt and question whether it's possible at all. Who am I to think that I could ever? What makes me think that I can? I've never stuck with anything before. Why do I think I can do that now? I am having all of these feelings right now this week as I get ready for our next recognized show. Am I strong enough? Is he strong enough? Are we ready? Have we done the work? Will it show? And then there's this. When the journey feels like it takes longer than expected and we feel like we have too far to go, we end up feeling disappointed. We beat ourselves up for even having the idea of the goal. And if you're like me, you jump right into the self-pity pool. Why does this have to be so hard for me? Why can't I be the lucky one? And that, my friends, is what I call the gap trap. I promise there are only 2 reasons for that gap trap, and none of them have anything to do with any of the thoughts that you're having. Are you ready? Here is why you are having those gap trap thoughts. Number 1, you are human, and number 2, you have a brain. There is nothing wrong with you or your goals. Yep, your brain is going to take every opportunity to try and get you to hit that easy button, go back to drinking the beer, eating the Cheetos, and watching Real Housewives. That's what brains do when we are in the mix of goal getting versus when we are sitting in fantasy. How many times have you started to learn a new thing like playing an instrument or riding a horse or how to lose weight? It didn't happen fast enough, and so maybe you gave up. Think about that thing. What is that thing that seems like it's meant for someone else, but you really, really, really want it to? At one point in my life, I wondered why maintaining normal weight had to be so hard. I just wanted to be one of those girls that could eat whatever they wanted and still be skinny. I mean, isn't that every woman's secret desire? I had all this food chatter in my head. The gap felt deep. And obviously another one for me had to do with horses. When I turned 50 and Steve and I sold our Midtown Tulsa home and moved to the country so I could get my horse experience on, I had a pony a couple of times in my life when I was younger, but I would never put me in the category of growing up with horses at all. In fact, I forgot more than I ever knew. So I remember when I first got my girls, I would be down in my paddock with them and I would see the girls driving up to the big barn arena and unload their horses and tack up and ride around the arena where we were boarding. They had so much confidence. I would envy the girls with their horses that could carry themselves with elegance, and they had amazing gaits and perfect posture. They could gracefully lope off from a walk. I mean, they could side pass, they could half pass, all of the things. They seemed to know exactly what to do and when to do it. They seemed to be at one with their partner. I saw in all of them all of their elegance, and then I saw where I was at the time, and it was a huge gap. It was the size of the Grand Canyon. I didn't recognize that's what it was then. I didn't recognize it as a gap, but I was sitting in self-pity and compare and despair. Here is exactly how you unintentionally put yourself in the gap. Remember, it's unintentional. Your brain is doing this for you. You're not even aware that you're doing it. But when we put ourselves in any form of comparison, we are putting ourselves in the gap. When we compete against someone else, and that's not the same as competing with someone else, there is a difference. When we do that, we put ourselves in the gap. Measuring yourself against someone else puts you in the gap. What this does for you, and see if this doesn't happen to you, we lose motivation and determination, and we lose our compass. We no longer feel identified with who we are on our way to becoming in order to create the result. We start chasing the wrong ideas, which widens the gaps. We disregard the extraordinary progress and results that we have already made. We lose sight of what we have accomplished and who we have become to accomplish it, whatever it is. I want you to think about this, and maybe you have actually experienced this, so it'll be easy for you to draw on. But what if every time you achieve something, your boss or your significant other just completely invalidated what you accomplished and said to you, that's not good enough. You should have done better. You should have worked harder, and then maybe you would be worthy. Imagine how that would feel and how that would affect you. Eventually, you would become demoralized and even resentful. You would stop trusting your ideas and you would stop believing in yourself. You would end up giving up and burning out. We do the exact same thing to ourselves. And listen, when we compare ourselves to others and where we are compared to where they are, we are competing against them and against ourselves. We are digging a deeper gap. We are in the gap trap. I have had lots of gap traps that I created myself because of this exact same thinking. This week, leading up to the show, I am putting myself into hyper self-awareness of my thoughts and my approach. And while I'm studying how others have written these tests, I am doing it from a place of being a student and looking for knowledge. I will be going to the show to gain experience of writing these tests to the best of our ability. I want to take this leap this year and knowing the mental and physical implications for both me and Dutch, but I also know he's in great shape. We are putting in the training, and in the end, it's the most fun I've ever had on a horse, and so I'm going to go and experience it all. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but the first lesson that I ever took, I fell off of the mounting block while trying to get on the horse and fell underneath the horse. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times, people. Bless that horse. The horse did not even move. It was amazing. But listen, if that wasn't evidence of the gap at the time, I don't know what is. At that time, I didn't even have a pedigree horse. I had a backyard pasture accident that I bought from a sale barn. Now I couldn't even get on a horse using a mounting block. I had every reason to think that I was not meant to be a horsewoman. I had every reason to not go back for lessons next week. I was embarrassed, I felt humiliated, and I was sore. At that time, the gap felt like it was growing. Every time I fell off that horse, I could feel that gap growing. All I wanted was to be a good horsewoman and a good rider and be able to do all the things I was watching the other girls do. And maybe you are feeling like that right now. All that gap is the journey. It's your path to your destination. I remember being in such a hurry to learn all the things and become a better rider. It seemed like the faster I tried to go and the more frustrated I got. And at one point, my dream of owning and showing horses was leaving me feeling miserable and overwhelmed. I was constantly looking at how far I still had to go, and the gap kept feeling bigger and bigger and further away. Remember in episode 6 when I said the brain lies? Well, my brain was lying to me too. And this was before I knew anything about managing my own thoughts. So there were several times I felt like I just wanted to quit. Then because I didn't quit, I started to see how it was possible and that my horse show dreams were closer than I thought. I saw that I had been filling in the gap all along, and you are too. You're doing it right now. Whatever you want to create, accomplish, or invite into your life is closer than you think. So don't quit. In fact, as long as you don't quit, it's inevitable. So, how do you keep your eyes on the prize when you are on your journey? How do you avoid the gap trap? I have 6 steps. Number 1, take some time to describe what that goal means to you. If it's a number on the scale or in your bank account, what is the meaning behind the number? For example, if you want to weigh 130 pounds and that's your number, is it because you want to be more active with your family, or maybe it represents no more food drama or food chatter? If you have a number in your bank account that you are shooting for, what's the why? What does it represent for the family? Is it vacations or a different lifestyle? Your why has enormous significance and is deeply tied to the things that you value. Keeping those values closely tied to your goal is critical to keeping your eye on the goal and not on the gap. My why is that I want to be able to tell my grandkids, Brynlee, Tegan, and Tate, about all of the things that their grandma did and accomplished. I don't want to sit around telling them what I wished I would have done. Number 2, focus on getting better every day. Just think about that one day ahead of you. When all we can see is the gap and not the goal, it's easy to let that goal slip away and we get frustrated and discouraged. And then we start thinking, I might as well, and might as well is never followed by anything that moves the needle in the right direction. It sounds like I might as well just blow the whole day since I blew it at lunch. And then I might as well just start over on Monday and just have a ball this weekend. Instead, ask yourself what you can do today that gets you one step closer to your end result. Ask yourself what you can do in the next minute. What decisions can I make today in this moment that moves me towards my goal? Maybe it's making better food choices for our health goal. Maybe it's working on money beliefs if you want to increase your wealth. Whatever you want to create, what can you do today, right now? Number 3, do a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly debrief. Showing your brain how far you have come along will help your brain evidence that you are making progress. I still do this to remind myself how far I have come as a horsewoman because my brain wants to remind me on the daily of that one day that I kept falling off the horse and couldn't get on. Number 4, visualize being that person every day and do one thing every day that gets you closer to becoming that person. In episode 9, I talk about living into your potential instead of your identity. Practice stepping into that person every day, that person that does create that result, that person that makes choices that support your outcomes that she wants to create. Visualization is a powerful tool for your brain. It's safe to say that all successful people spend time visualizing the outcome that they want to create, but they also visualize the journey. The more often that you can access your future self on this journey, the sooner that you will grow and evolve into her. Number 5, make a list of things that you are in the habit of doing and challenge those habits. Does that habit support your goal? Don't lose sight of the big thing, but the day-to-day. Focus on the habits you can create and the progress you are making as a result of your habits. My husband always has a certain level of fitness that he wants to maintain. Both of us are in our 60s now, so we know that in order to maintain youth for as long as possible, a healthy eating protocol is important. There was a point in which he had an after work going to the pantry and eating crackers habit that was actually sabotaging his health goal. A simple inventory of your daily habit might be very revealing. Number 6, think of the thoughts that serve your goal, not your gap. When you are thinking thoughts like, this isn't possible or I can't, you are right. When you think possibility thoughts, right again. I highly recommend listening to episode 2 where I talk about possibility thoughts and how to create them. My parting thoughts are these. Don't underestimate the power of the example that you are setting for someone else who would love to be on your journey, for someone who shares a similar dream. Last week when I was at the horse park riding around, I had a young lady who was dying to get into horses, and she approached me and asked me about Dutch. I got to share with her how I didn't grow up riding horses either, just like her. I shared how I fell off the mounting block 4 times at my first lesson. I also got to share that my backyard pasture accident and I won the first ever Western Dressage Futurity. Sharing that helped her fill her gap in a little bit, and she started to see how this dream is possible for her too. It's full circle now. I am the one on the horse riding with competence and confidence, and someone else is watching, and people are watching you too. Someone is watching you on your journey, whatever your journey is, and they are rooting for you because they also are seeing evidence of their gap closing. All right, my friends, as you know, I have received an autoimmune diagnosis last year, and since then I have been cleaning up my act. And in the process, I have tried numerous products that did and did not work for me, but I found numerous products that I love and are clean and healthy, and they won't break the bank, but they will lighten your toxic burden. Even if I wasn't autoimmune at this point, I would totally use these products. So be sure and click on the link in the show notes for my new webpage where I post all the things I love. I hope this podcast has been helpful and useful to you and that you were able to experience a mind shift of your own. That is what I have for you today. And now go have the best day ever. That's a wrap. I hope that you were able to experience a mind shift of your own today. Listen, if you love this podcast, you should totally check out my Life by Design 6-week boot camp. It's a work at your own pace workshop and something that you can do over and over and over again to uplevel your results and get ready for a transformation at the speed of life.